What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call to Action Live on Saturday night. Wow. Alex, thanks for joining us. That was kind of an interesting thing that happened. Alex just kind of dropped out right as the promo went on, but she's back and she's ready to go. I'll introduce her in a second, I guess. I should get her headphones ready. Oh, she's all sorts of technical difficulties galore. That's how we roll at Action Army. And Call to Action. Welcome. Oh boy, somebody's got a repeat going. All right, there we go. First up, let's see. I'll introduce the guy to my. I right. I got it again. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better to consistently remember that I got to point this way to go that way. If that makes sense. But the man with the hair that I love to admire, Natty Daddy. How are you, my friend?
Paul, I am great, and let me tell you why. Because that son of a bitch, Dylan Camacho, isn't here, and I'm gonna have a great time.
He did threaten to be here. I kind of was wondering if he's going to pop up, but no, looks like you gave him a little pop in the jaw, and he's down for the count, it looks like. Although maybe if I say that, maybe it will pop up. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. Well, below Natty Daddy, she almost dropped out. I was a little worried. We lost her, but she's back. Alex Mack. How are you, Alex?
I'm that nice lady. I couldn't hear anyone for a split second, so I was like, I don't, and I was like, I wasn't even touching the keyboard. I was like, what did I do? Let's be honest. It's almost like if you turn a computer on and off, sometimes that fixes a lot of problems. Exit and come back. Maybe it'll work, but
that's really the old Fonz way, like you smack it on the side of the tower. Sometimes that works for me.
Exactly. It's just like working with like a TV remote. You're like. Magic.
Mm-hmm. Nintendo days, you gotta blow the cartridge.
Oh my God. We're one of the cartridge. Oh,
those days.
I'm old, I know. And down below me, we got our wonderful stats lady, Frankie numbers be damned. We have the new Frankie numbers that I'm going to say. I'm always throwing out there, throwing right in there against them. So I want to see him come back at you someday. So I want to see a battle of stats. But Megs, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a little late for me, but always happy and always a joy to be hanging out with you guys.
Look at that. You're so committed to us now. We're making you going to be here on more and more. No matter how late we go, we're going to keep you up later and later because that's how we roll. It was a good week. Our week, 4 matches. Tournament keeps rolling on. We got some teams tournament stuff we'll talk about today. Some storyline purposes we'll talk about as well. We did break down a few matches this week. We like to break them down again, at least a little bit more different people as we go into Call Live. So let's get right into it. The first match we had this week was Andreiko and Meyer. Now, what did you guys think going into this match? I always like to see what we thought going in versus what we had coming out of it. Personally, I was looking forward to this match. I did give the edge to Meyer. What did you guys think going in? Natty.
I also had Meyer because I have him on my fantasy team and I needed him to win. It took me all of 3.5 minutes to bring up fantasy. But anyway.
Which you're still losing.
Was that?
Which you're still losing, by the way.
Paul, I am going to slap you through the screen. I swear to God. Anyway, I had Meyer winning regardless of my fantasy team because I think he's a more strategic player than Mark Andreiko. Mark Andreiko is very good. He's very knowledgeable. But Brendan Meyer has this grasp on the concept of the game that I think gives him a huge advantage. So I had him going all the way.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I remember talking to him in Spectacular. The guy had he had strategies for strategies. Like it was like left and right. Like he just talked more. He's actually a lot like Bateman. I remember they were talking a lot together as well. And they just all were talking different things they could do, concepts they could pull. It was pretty ridiculous how in-depth some of his stuff went. So I always give him the edge as far as that goes. Now I know how in-depth he works. So Alex, what did you think?
I did. Going into it, I understood that Meyer, he just has a lot of momentum right now, considering he is going to be playing against Corruption in just a few weeks, which is right around the corner, which is crazy to think. It's October, isn't it? a few weeks.
Oh,
He has a lot of momentum right now, after walking away from his match, being part of Shazam, obviously. But there's been a lot of question about how he is as a singles competitor. He's be great as teams, no question. But as a single player, we haven't really seen him show up,
Sure.
necessarily. So I honestly, I did think that he had a lot of momentum and everything going into this match. So my heart said Meyer as much as I wanted Andreiko to win.
good point. All right, Megs, what did you think on him?
So kind of similar to Alex, in my heart I was more thinking Meyer just based on what we've seen from him in teams, but it could have easily gone either way because Andreiko is also a very solid player. So I didn't have super strong inclinations one way or the other, but just from pure fan, I was wanting to see Meyer come out with it.
Well, that's what happened. We had Meyer. Wow, he just did his thing. 100% there. I mean, he did his thing. Both had great round one, obviously. Both great round one. Meg, you should talk about the stats. This is your stat sheet. I only talk about what you're not on. Go ahead, take your stat sheet and go with it.
So essentially, we saw Meyer going 100% accuracy. However, in his second round, he did check down to multiple choice multiple times, which brought down his overall potential points earned. However, I don't necessarily fault him for that because it was more strategy, because going into that second round, he was already significantly high with being able to get a couple steals off of Andreiko by giving him movie release dates off of opponent's choice.
Right.
So I think if he had been in more of a dire straight situation, he might have been a little more aggressive with round two, but at that point, he didn't need to be. So I think he strategically played a very good game, even though potential points earned was not as high as his accuracy.
Yeah. Speaking as someone who has him on fantasy, it did frustrate me a little that he checked down a multiple choice because I could have earned a lot more points, but I did think it was very smart of him.
Yeah, smart.
He knew he was in the lead. He knew he didn't need to go for that 2-pointer and risk Andreiko getting it. So I think it was very strategic that he went down to multiple choice.
Oh, absolutely. Because when like Meg said, he got to give opponents move release dates to Andreiko. Once you had it up like that, why bother risking it? Just take the points that are in front of you and those extra points. And that's what happened at the end. It was too far of a hill for Andreiko to climb. Andreiko hit his 2 and his 3, missed his 5, game over. That's all he did. I mean, that's pretty much where it went. I was surprised at how easy he made it look. He made it look kind of easy. He didn't feel like he was sweating at all. And Andreiko was a solid competitor. Now, granted, Andreiko hadn't been playing singles in a little bit. He had notoriously quit singles for a while, and supposedly it was Bateman being snarky at the awards that brought him back into it. Now
that's what he keeps claiming.
That's what he claims. That's what he says. That's true. We never know with him. You never know. He loves those grudge matches. He loves matches against Bibiani. He loves matches against Bateman. But yeah, so he's going to move on. Should we talk about who he's going to face next? Let's see. He faces the winner of Collins and Lon Harris. That's going to be a fun match to watch.
Yes.
Do you guys have a choice of who you want to see him face?
I completely forgot that Meyer's not on my fantasy team anymore because I traded him away because I am terrified of Adam Collins. And I could see Brendan Meyer winning if he shows up like he did this past match, but I mean, it's a huge mountain to climb.
Yeah. So you're thinking Adam Collins has got Lon Harris no problem. That's what I'm hearing from you.
I think Adam Collins beats Lon Harris, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you, Alex, what's your thoughts on this?
I don't like this one. I don't. This is not even kidding. One of the most highly anticipated matches of the entire season for me. Just because, it's not a championship match and everything. However, we know so little about Adam Collins as a competitor, and we know he TKO'd like really bad. John Roca, a former teams and singles champion. And obviously, we haven't really seen him miss a question yet from what I can remember. Maybe a first round or two, but overall, he's been performing pretty spectacularly. Not to say Lon hasn't. Obviously, he has. He's been doing fantastic. But sometimes, he doesn't always have eye on the ball 110%. I mean, he pretty much gave away that Mulan question, just like last month or so. And he's like, well, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry. Yeah. And so I think that moments like that might come to bite him right in the tuchus.
Yeah, it could. You're absolutely right.
I think it's Collins.
All right. Megs, do you have any opinions on what you think is going to happen between Collins and Lon, and who Meyer's going to face?
So I think this one's going to be very interesting for Collins because Lon has the potential to put Adam on the offensive. Because up until this point, he has been playing from he's performed so well that he is always ahead. If he ends up getting behind, how is he going to handle that sort of pressure? So I think this is going to be, I would have anticipated Rocha being a big test for him, but since he has passed that, Lon's the next person in line that could give him some problems and really test to see what is Collins going to do when he has to play from behind.
That's that's exactly what my opinion too. I want to see Collins get knocked in the mouth and make him have to come back, face adversity, and have him come back. Does he fold like a cheap suit, or does he have the heart to keep going? I don't know either way. Definitely not knocking him. So I don't know the answer.
No.
He seemed like pretty cool as a cucumber when he was on Chill. He was talking about it, how he didn't have any. He just is able to hold his emotions, and you could tell versus Rocha the whole time he was very unflappable. Seemed like he was just kind of like. And he let it all out at the end. He kind of let it all out.
Right.
He'd won, really. But I want to see what he can do against some adversity. We'll see how it happens. But can Lon do that? Can Lon put him on his heels a little bit? I don't know. Lon's pretty, I don't want to say inconsistent. I don't know if inconsistent is the right word, but he always seems to, as far as in singles goes, he never quite live up to his potential. He's got this great knowledge base, but he never seems to quite get there. So hopefully, maybe I'd like to see it happen. I'd love to see a great match. I'd love to see what happens between these two. I can give in the edge to Collins right now, but that's still a small sample size for me. So it's hard to see what's going to happen. I'd like to see, of course, going back on that, I love Lon's personality. Let's not forget the Schmoedown is just as much personality as characters as it is trivia. So just for that sake alone, nothing against Collins personality wise. I want to see more delinquent all day. Anytime I can get the delinquent on the screen, I'm happy and I'm loving it. So
well, and with that too, this will be the first time that Collins has been against someone with this strong of a character work. So yeah, the strong intimidation of Rocha didn't phase him, but what's a out of control delinquent going to do to him?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Rob, he seems to think it won't bother him, and again,
it might not.
What's he going to say? He's going to say, "Oh yeah, it's going to bother me." Let Lon know and let him do it more.
There's no way.
But yeah, I don't think it will bother him because Lon's character is not the type who's going to try to get in your head. He's not going to trash talk you. Lon's character is pretty chill, so I don't feel like that's going to affect him.
But that's a lulling.
Yeah,
that lull you into a false sense of security, and then he comes up, and all of a sudden you realize you're down.
Not only does it not intimidation factor, but just the idea if you're in a zone, and all of a sudden you're Lon's cracking jokes with Ellis, you're cracking these jokes, and like they're funny as hell, and you start laughing, you kind of get out of your own rhythm because you're just like distracted a little bit. I don't know why, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, like, Lon Harris has like history. He's been very vocal about it. He said that, he, as much as he loved doing the professor when he did, but he said that being the professor and trying to focus on trivia as well was very difficult for him. He was thinking actively about his comebacks against the other competitor. He wasn't thinking about the trivia per se. He wasn't keeping track of his JPEs as efficiently as he should have.
Right.
And him trying to be funny and things like that wasn't really doing it well. That's why we didn't get the storylines that Christian initially planned for him to win. But he did win one or two, but that was it. But he did okay. He didn't do great. Which we really vouch for it. But the thing is, he's doing really, really well with this character. But I would be concerned, given his history, if character might distract him from succeeding or really hyper focusing when needed.
Yeah, it could be.
Already has this season.
Collins in a corruption makeover, throw a leather jacket on that hippie. That's true. That's be true.
Well, and speaking of managers too, Lon also has Winston now in his corner, and he's been working with Paul Oyama. So you can't discount that as maybe part of the boost
You can see something
as well.
They work really well together.
The number one question is 110% Lon's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Oh yeah.
He owned it. He owned it. And
He
he's
owned-
done.
he owned
Yeah, exactly. You know, and those things happen.
We all have
Down
flubs
to
here.
his perspective. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next match we had that week, which was Jader versus Tom. Now, again, this was definitely Tom was at least narratively wise was definitely. This is actually a question we're going to have there, Alex, about underdog versus favorites. Stats, Megs, what were the records going in?
So this is only Tom's second singles match versus this is Jader's third.
Right.
And Jader's won 2, and then Tom's only won the 1. So technically, sorry,
I booed you out for a minute. Sorry, my fault. I was going to do that. I booted
really,
you out.
Paul? Really?
I really was. I really
Really?
was.
Okay, sure.
I'll own it.
Right. But yes, technically, Jader has more matches with 2 over, so that or 2-0 versus just a 1-0 for Tom. So that's how.
Yeah, it's that question. Who is a favorite of that match? When you asked anybody else in the league, if you asked anybody in the league at that point, I think almost everybody picked Tom over Jader for that reason. Because not because the narrative was that Tom was just unstoppable beast. Yada yada. He had performed so well, hadn't missed that many questions. Whereas Jader had been a good, solid player, but like they just seemed tier wise to be in different ways. But technically speaking, Tom was like the underdog. Alex, you were talking about that before when to bring this in. I think this might be a good time to bring that in. Your question of when is somebody actually an underdog versus when is it an upset? Do you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting conversation because the four of us are very active on social media about our thoughts and opinions on Schmoedown, obviously, whether or not who's going to win, who's going to lose. We're Megs as being a, boss ass lady on stats, all that good stuff. But when it comes down to it, what really makes an upset is technically who is just more or less likely to walk away with the win. The thing is that doesn't take in consideration the narrative, the story, what's going on behind the scenes, what do we know about these competitors and their preparation for these matches. So there's a lot that's not really taken into account when we look at stats, and rightfully so. Stats wouldn't be as effective if they took all that into account realistically. So talking about reflecting on that information going into this match is Chance is technically the underdog. However, if you look at social media, you would think it's the exact opposite. He has all the momentum walking away from a team champion win. He just completely he had one of the best matches so far I think he's ever played when he competed against David Del Rio. So there's this kind of an interesting conversation about whether or not Chance was really the upset, or if Chance winning would have been an upset or not, because of the conversation surrounding him over the past several weeks.
No, that's absolutely right. Chance and Liz were that way. I think you said Jader and Tom are kind of similar in that way. I know I predicted Tom. Who did you guys had you pick for Tom and Jader, for example? Who did you guys pick? You had Tom.
I was giving the edge to Tom only because I have more history on him. I've seen him more. And something interesting that I noticed looking back at Jader's performances, even in just the 3 matches that I've seen him in, his first and third rounds are super strong. Once you get into the second round is where you see some of his fumbles, where there are just certain categories that he is just not strong in. And that's going to be interesting seeing him go into, yeah, exactly. I mean, given 80s, he said that was the one slice he didn't want.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see him progress going into teams and as well as into the next season, what he does to shore up those round 2s, because he's had high accuracy in round 3. His round 1 has been at league average or above. So that'll be interesting to see how he develops as a player over the next couple seasons.
That says it right there. He had a perfect round 1 as a bonus, but then round 2 where it just didn't quite work out for him. Again, after checking out a multiple choice, didn't get some points, and he fell behind Tom. And at the end of the day, Tom wins, and then again, it didn't seem. I mean, it was a good match. It was a good, solid match. I think Jader didn't embarrass himself at all.
No.
It definitely shows some holes that he's gonna have to fill if he wants to make it to that next year list. So.
Yep. That I mean that's just the point that I'm seeing. It's like, yes, beginning and end are solid. It's that middle that he's starting to waver. So if I was gonna say from a statistical standpoint, where do you need to concentrate on? It's round 2.
Absolutely, 110%. So, well, that was good. So, who does they? So Tom gets to go on to face the winner of Ethan and Eric. Ethan Irwin and Eric Zipper. Now, I think we all could probably say that our initial opinion would be that Ethan Irwin is going to win over Eric Zipper. That'd be initially the thought, I would think, the league-wide thing. Am I wrong on that with anybody?
I really like Eric Zipper, and I think he's super underrated, but I can't see Ethan Irwin losing this.
Okay. All right. Alex, you always have some hot takes. Is this your hot take at the moment?
No hot takes here. I want him to win. I want Eric Zipper to win. I would pay money for him to win. But realistically, I just know, Ethan. It's Ethan, and say Eric has improved tremendously over the past several months. You cannot deny that. He completely annihilated Paul Preston, and he's just so much more strategic. He's on top of the ball. He's focused and everything. But he is also going against a former singles competitor, and Ethan is just still so young in his singles career. He's only played like 3 matches or something so far, and he's only, from what I remember, like played maybe one once, or maybe, I'm not sure, but
I see Megs jumping into action.
Let's say you're talking about Zipper, right?
Yeah, Zipper in his singles career.
Yeah,
I can only think of him in like 2 or 3 singles matches.
It's tough to remember because he does a lot of he's IG, he's on team.
I'm trying to ice. I'm not thinking of IG.
Yeah, he definitely won the first round.
Yeah, I know. From last season and this season, he's only been in 3 singles matches.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I'll say, unless he had a singles match somewhere in like 2018 that I don't have in here, that's all I have for him is 3.
Yeah, I think that's it. He was 2-1 at that point. Then
who else did he beat outside of Preston?
Who?
Let's see.
Haley Fouch.
Yeah, he went against
Haley Fouch.
He won to Haley in sudden death.
Yeah.
Right, I forgot about that.
Okay. Stacey Howard took him to level and kind of he was really upset about after that loss because
and that was that 5-pointer that
I only know what I know.
Right,
what she doesn't know. Which is great. I love
that. I just
in contention for match of the year or moment of the year because that was amazing.
Oh my god, I legit at the end of that I legit cried. It was just like you can see Zipper. He is just like everyone is crowding around him, and he's like, "Hey man, you did so good." And he's like, "I'm fine, guys, I'm good."
Yeah.
You saw because he tries actively so hard, and he's been very vocal about it. How trying to learn trivia to the intensity that he has is actively very, very difficult for him since it's not something he's accustomed to. He doesn't work in the industry or anything like Harry or Dan Merle does. Yep. So it's something he has to actively work to combat.
110%.
Right.
I do think it's exactly the same way you guys do. I love Zipper. He's a friend of the show. Really, he's on a lot of us. He likes hanging out with us. He's a great person to talk to. But it is Ethan Irwin. I mean, Dan Merle is scared of Ethan Irwin. If Dan Merle is scared of you, then that's something to think about. It would definitely bring back the upset versus underdog thing. I think no matter what the records are, it doesn't even matter what the records would be. This would be an upset if Zipper beat Irwin. But I'm not going to predict that upset at all, even though there hasn't seemed to be a lot of upsets this year. Upset City is a thing, but this is not an upset city at all. This is going to be, if anything, KO County, maybe the other way around. I would be surprised if Irwin KO'd him. That's how much I respect Irwin at this point. If he rolls animation, he spins animation. That's the only problem that Irwin will have, I think, at this point.
And he's reminding us of when he came in as a rookie. That sophomore season was a little rough for him, but now he's back in his groove and he's reinvigorated himself. He's getting more of that strategy down, which was his downfall in a couple of those matches last season. So he's only going up from here, and that's intimidating.
Yeah, if he puts his mind to it, I think working with Janine helped a little bit. Now, if he works with Andrew Ghai more, and maybe Andrew Ghai's definitely more of a strategic player in his way, that'll help him a little bit develop that a little more. But yeah, I love Zipper. I don't want to.
Right, absolutely. I'd love to see him win, but I don't.
He's gone.
It's gonna take a lot to go in his favor for that to happen.
Yeah,
he's gone a long way in a short amount of time, but he's not quite at that tier yet.
I definitely don't think that Ethan Irwin's unbeatable. I think he's not without his weaknesses.
Right.
Zipper could conceivably win, but I think, let's say 8 out of 10 times, I think Ethan Irwin takes it.
Right.
Yeah. I do think Megs just like put it so perfect where it's like there's a lot that's going to go on. Ethan's have to come in not on his game. He's going to have to he would have to maybe get opponent's choice or get a very big weakness, and on top of that he would have to maybe there would be a few steals involved, for Ethan to really kind of combat it. On top of that, we haven't really seen Ethan get anything below really like 7 in the first round. Not really.
Yeah.
So, and not to say that Eric won't get that. Obviously, it's just that we haven't really seen him play at that consistent level yet.
Right.
Yeah. Irwin averages 7 in round 1.
Yeah. So that's an average, and that's. But so either way, we all think Irwin's winning. So therefore, we're going to see Irwin versus Tom. Now, I think this might be the first time since his debut that Tom would be considered an underdog, I think, in this case, because I think that's a scary notion to see Tom facing Irwin. I don't know where we're going to see. This is going to be a setting match for Tom. This is he gets to see where he gets to stand. Because, I mean, he like I said before, he's facing Jader Paramo, who is good, but not that top tier. He beat Tim Franco, who, again, great player, but never quite hit that top tier yet either. So this is Tom's first match singles-wise against one of the big boys, so to speak.
Yeah.
I still think I would have Irwin over Tom, but I think it's going to be very close. I think this is going to go down to the 5. I would be shocked to see it go to sudden death if that happened, like point-wise.
Right.
I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Do you have Tom or would you have Irwin?
This is a hoss fight in Schmoedown if I've ever seen one. This is a complete toss-up. Like it really goes down to round 2 and who gets the better categories in the wheel.
Right.
I think if gun to my head, I would have to go Tom by a hair.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting point. Okay, Alice, what do you have to say?
I love me my hot takes, but not this one. It's Earth. I almost whipped out the Earth then again. It's Irwin again. Tom's very vocal about it. He likes participating in Schmoedown, but he's not going to study. He's not going to do all that stuff. He's not looking up strengths, weaknesses, and everything to really give himself the edge. If he knows it, he knows it. If he doesn't, oh well, whatever. He's going to move on. But he doesn't. I don't think he really puts as much love into Schmoedown as Ethan does, because Ethan is very vocal about it, especially this season. He's like, everyone thinks that I'm just like hanging out and chilling. No, I'm studying. I'm doing research. I'm watching your old matches. I'm preparing. And I think that's why he's going to walk away with a big win.
All right. Megs, what do you got to say?
This one is a toss-up. Again, I think it's going to come down. It's going to come down to the wheel. Yeah. Because I see them both being very solid in round 1. I see them both being solid in round 3. What's the wheel going to do to them? And that's going to be what sets the tone for that match.
Well, Mark, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I'll type in, didn't the Looney Bin beat Time Machine, correct?
Time Machine beat the Looney Bin. They beat the Looney Bin. It was a close match. Okay. It ended up being 32-31 Looney Bin. Okay. And actually, Irwin Tom ended up with a perfect round and a bonus, and Ethan only got 6 points that game.
Oh, okay.
So they were
only 6 points.
Only 6 points. But they were pretty. I mean, the only reason that I think Looney Bin won is because they had 1 point up on Time Machine going out of round 1, and they were in sync the rest of the game.
Interesting. I do think that that Ethan has that big hole that he's never really quite filled with the animation. He's never quite gotten there.
Better.
It's better than it was.
But...
than it was, but it's still a hole. Whereas I don't know if Tom has any specific big holes.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Not really.
But I do think that Ethan Irwin's general knowledge, because Tom's had some misses that surprise me sometimes, whereas Ethan almost never misses anything that surprises me. If that makes sense. I know that's subjective. I get that.
Yeah.
But it it's my narrative a little bit that I think Ethan's got a better overall general breadth knowledge. But if he can, if Tom can use that animation against him somehow, then maybe that's how it happens.
Yeah, that's exactly where my thought is. Like, there's more game tape on Ethan Irwin. Like Tom, he's played a lot of matches, but he hasn't played as many as Ethan Irwin. There's not enough like tape on him. There's not like a huge noticeable weakness that Tom has that Ethan Irwin has. Ethan Irwin has a huge weakness in animation, and he could have studied up on animation. I'm not going to put that past him, but it's been like a year or two since he's had to deal with animation. He's not done well with it, so I don't think he's going to fill up that gap well enough if he gets it in round 2. And if he does get it in round 2, I can't see Tom losing this.
I'll say he's hit animation. I'd have to pull it up specifically, but he's hit it pretty. He's had a much higher percentage with it in round 1 than he's had previously. But again, if he ends up with it in round 2, he's been watching Disney Plus. But are there other oddball animation movies that he's not going to be able to pull from?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I do have. I don't even want to bring up this. This is the real question. Hair versus hair, Nat versus Ryan Payne in the Carmel. That's a good question here. I think I gotta side with my boy Natty Daddy. He's on the show with me, Ryan. Although that is a damn good match, and I kind of like to see the outcome of that one. I don't know who the underdog is on that one. I have to go into that.
How do we decide that?
Okay, moving on. We will talk about Chance versus Liz. Alex already brought it up. As far as underdog, and this is actually D-Train had a comment in here. I don't know if you were here for that conversation. Nope, that's not the one. Sorry, D-Train had one earlier. There you go. Do you consider Liz Shannon Miller win over Chance and upset? He does, because she only faced Silvestrini all year, and Chance was the top contender for Player of the Year. And that's the big question Alex brought up in a way. It's narrative versus storyline versus where we are now versus recency bias. Liz only faced Silvestrini this year. That's true, but she did have a year last year where her losses were to players
Bateman?
when they were on their big runs, like Oyama,
Oyama.
during their like big runs that they had. Those
Right.
to me, like that anybody could have lost those matches. Those
With that match in particular, I do think she's technically at 5-3 or 5-2.
now she's at 5-2.
She's now 5-2.
She's now 5-2.
Yeah, now 5-2. So, and Chance, I believe, was 3-2 or at the time.
Yes.
So she definitely was 100%, the assumed winner, honestly.
I don't know if the assumed winner is a thing, though. You can say that they were
You're right, not assumed winner.
statistically, she was.
Chance was 3-3.
Based off the numbers alone. Yeah, based off the numbers alone. Not to say, and like obviously upsets happen. I mean, like this season has been almost exclusively upsets for a whole bunch. It's been like upset season, honestly.
Although I would say, even statistically, 4-2 versus 3-3 is almost negligible in terms of, you could call that almost an even match. Like there was one win more in any sport. If you're 4-2 versus 3-3, basically one team had one more win and one more loss. That's almost inevitable over a period of time. Like, later, if it's 20-10 versus 21-9, you're not saying that one is definitively an upset. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the difference is that she had more. Okay, so he had more losses and more games. More matches.
No, it was
the same number of games.
They had the same number of games. She was 4-2. He was 3-3 going into the match.
That's 6.
So it's one.
Oh,
so
okay,
you're
right.
And one more loss.
I don't think they're equal in the slightest, though. Overall, honestly,
their careers, as far as who they faced, is slightly lopsided, but not a ton difference. I think Chance definitely had a rougher start initially. And then Liz Shannon Miller she hit the tougher competitors as she was getting rolling versus, Chance's thing about not getting past the first round of the tournament is because he was at a position where he was getting put up against those heavy hitters right in a row. Versus Liz was able to build up a little bit to those tougher competitors.
That's
not taking it away from either one, but just the narrative of how they got to their records isn't the same.
As I don't think you look at a 4 and 2. Yeah, I don't think you look at a 4 and 2 and a 3 and 3 and say definitively, oh, that one's definitely higher because she's got one more. It's not. It can't be that easy unless they had the same. You have to put them against the same people, same opponents, same schedule, same how everything went. Then you can say maybe, but otherwise, to me, it's pretty close to even. Now you can call it an upset or call it not an upset. You can say that Liz was favored because of her record. She earned the record, so she was technically favored.
Right.
But I think honestly, going in, I thought it was easy. I thought it was an even bout, and the narrative would suggest that Chance was on a roll, so Chance was going to do it. But as we all know, that's the narrative doesn't always work. I don't know if it's an upset. I don't think it's an upset at this point. In terms of overall, they're probably close to even. It was. I guess you could say there's a slight difference. It's a kind of one of those slim differences between upset and surprising. It's still surprising a little bit because of the motivation, but it's not necessarily.
It is a technically, it is not an upset.
Technically not.
That's all it is, technically.
And now, have you heard Leslie?
Ever not?
I didn't think she wasn't.
I don't think I was ever not the conversation.
She was underrated. I think she was severely underrated by most people. But I saw her come in. I'm like, oh my goodness, watch out for her if she gets on a roll.
Well, that's the thing too, because when she came in, like you said, she had a couple. I don't want to say soft wins, but they're softer wins. Like they were. She had a couple of building ups where she won, and she lost her matches against the so-called big shots at that point.
Right.
So the question of would she get to that level in a matter of time? But with the base knowledge she has, I think she definitely made that statement by beating Chance. That's a big statement she made. I'm interested to see what she does next. As far as who she's facing. She's facing the winner of Barbarian or Bibiani. Now that is going to be a barn burner of a match that we can talk about a little bit. But either opponent, I think, will be another good
litmus test for her.
Thank you. That's what we're looking for exactly. Litmus test for where she is. Now, that being said, sneaking over to Barbarian versus Bibiani, I think that's a match I've been looking forward to quite a bit too. Bibiani is Bibiani. He's a legend in the game. He knows his stuff. He's been really good this year after his losses at Spectacular with him and his shot with Meyer. Of course, he's been narratively speaking doing very good, especially the last couple of games. He's been almost dominant with some of his wins. So interested to see what he does against the rookie of sorts. Who doesn't? I don't know if it seems to you guys. I almost feel like Barbarian doesn't even seem like a rookie anymore. It almost seems like he's been around a lot longer than he has, and I don't know why that is. I think it just means he's around a lot. But
I think the conversation surrounding him is different from most rookies. I mean, Bateman and Roca and Merle, they've all talked about it. He's like, hey, if anything, when we're having general training meetings and all that good stuff, we're having like matches and stuff like that. He's the one that's helping us out. He's the one putting together the questions in his head and helping us trying to correctly assess challenges and technicalities, things like that. And they're just very vocal about it, that these Schmoedown vets are like, this guy's helping us out. We need him. Honestly, that's why I think that he's going to be the number 1 draft pick for number 1 or number 2 draft pick for Finstock.
Possibly.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Outside of it, like if he has like if he has like a belt or someone like on his team that sells a belt or something like that, that's one thing. But if he doesn't, and if he's going in with, after having, I do think he's like one of the core competitors that he's like, I have to keep 110%.
So you think Finstock is going to keep Barbarian, is what you're saying?
I especially considering he's the reason why he's like, hey, I'm more comfortable taking on rookies, taking more competitors that I'm not super comfortable with, because I have Barbarian here to help me train and help me prep them appropriately. That's why.
Well, I think we will save the conversation. I think we want to talk about, after we're done with the match, we're talking about Bateman's actions and stuff, and that's going to lead into a little discussion on next year in Stock Exchange. So I like your comment. We'll save the rest of that conversation till after that, as far as that goes. But you're not wrong at all. I think it's definitely a possibility. Although storyline wise, also there's little things in the gears sometimes too. But you're right about everything else. As far as he made a mark in singles. He even threw his hat in the Intergatum ring on a very short notice and did well. He did well in IG, lost to a chance. Actually lost the winner in a contested match, which had some level of controversy. I know he wants to face Chance again at Intergatum, so I would love to see next year. Honestly, I could see Bibiani being in both. Not Bibiani. I'm sorry, Barbarian being in both leagues. But at the end of the day, Bibiani is a big litmus test for him at this part where he is in the singles. He has the knowledge definitively. He seems to have a good handle on the gameplay. But Bibiani is a beast, no pun intended. He really is a beast. So I think at this point, I gotta say Bibiani's the favorite. He's definitely got the more tenure. He's definitely got the motivation, the momentum, just as much as Barbarian had, if anything. And maybe Barbarian was a little sidetracked with the IG for a little bit. So I'm gonna give this match to Bibiani. But I think it's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be Barbarian. I would not be shocked if Barbarian upset him. But I'm going Bibs.
Yeah, I'm also going Bibs. I feel like it's damn near impossible to be good at Intergeekdom and singles and teams. To go all the way in the tournament, because we've seen Mike be good at singles and Chance be good at singles, but they're both eliminated from the tournament. So I feel like that split focus is going to really cost them, especially when you're up against a player the caliber of Bibiani.
Agreed. Alice, what do you got on this one?
I'm kind of a similar route as you, Paul. I really wouldn't be surprised if Barbarian were to somehow walk away with the win. And I love me an upset. I love me a big surprise. I love just being surprised. But I do. If I had put money on it, it's Bibs 100%. Absolutely.
Okay, fair. Megs, what do you got?
I also do favor Bibs in this, and more so because seeing him in this virtual environment, he's thriving very well in the virtual environment versus Barbarian's doing well, but like several other competitors on the Stock Exchange, they thrive off of that live/studio environment. And it can give you just enough of an edge if you are able to throw a little bit more of yourself out there in the virtual world versus how comfortable you are in studio. That can throw you off just enough to stumble you up a little bit. So, and again, like Alex is saying, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Barbarian was able to take it out because he is a very solid competitor. But based on what I'm seeing so far and based on kind of the confidence I'm seeing Bibiani have in this environment, I'm going to give him the edge on it.
Okay, so then we have Bibiani versus Liz, Shannon Miller. Another point Ryan wants to make there is that they're part of great faction represented by amazing managers. I do think that Winston is someone that Liz Shannon Miller is someone who can use a good manager because she has a solid manager. She has a solid knowledge exactly, but I think gameplay she's still learning. But she's also a very shy personality, and I don't mean shy in like as far as like she can talk and she can write and she has. But as far as like challenges go, or as far as like being able to really have that killer like I'm gonna get you, sucker, kind of mentality you need sometimes. Like, I don't think she has that yet, and she's like going to be more like willing. Kind of like almost reminds me of what Ace did in the Star Wars tournament. At one point, Ace was kind of like, "Well, isn't that kind of a well? All right, I'll let it go." Or the manager's going to come in and say something like at that point, might manager go, "No, we don't let things go. We need to."
Well, the difference is that thing is Ace is very vocal about it. He admitted he's like, "Hey, if I can tell you know it, so to me you know it. I'm not going to question it based on the technicality of and things like that." Whereas someone like he doesn't have that killer instinct. If you know it, you know it, and he's not going to question you.
Right.
Versus someone like Demalanta, who does have that killer instinct, he will challenge the F out of it.
If you go missing S, he's going to go for it. I mean, definitely. Like, boom.
So Ace would rather challenge based off like the general knowledge. The Alex wants to challenge you on the hardcore specifics of the knowledge. So it's just
So would Shannon Miller do that? So I don't know if Shannon Miller would do that. I almost feel like she's too nice in a way. Maybe that's an act. Maybe that's something that she hasn't shown yet and had an opportunity to show yet. But I'd like to see if she would, and if she wouldn't, maybe managing somebody Winston, a manager, could help her in that way, in that fashion.
I think she's just really liking having a support system around her just as much as having a manager to kind of hype her up as well. Because she has said multiple times, like, she loves the camaraderie that she has within Swag. And, Winston's always going to be a hype man for you. That's just how he is. And it's been amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of her confidence has come from knowing that she has people in her corner to help.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think everyone, there's no exception that everyone benefits from having a manager. It just depends on which manager you have. And I think Winston is a really good manager for Liz because he can do that talk. He can do that trash talk that Liz might not be as comfortable doing herself. So I definitely think that she was put on the right faction.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that really speaks to how well Winston is he's definitely one of the best. To me, he's probably going to get, I'm like 80% sure he's going to walk away with a big manager of the year award this season. Honestly, that can change. I think a lot of it is recency bias. Like towards the end of the season, that's when the big, awards campaigns start coming out, obviously. But Winston's obviously, he's doing some really consistent, really great work with all of his competitors. But we've seen him really kind of go to bat for his competitors. But we also have seen in Kate, she recently, when she had that little mistake in the first round for her with that match with Tom versus Jader, and she was very vocal about it. She's like, "That was my fault. I didn't catch that. I didn't catch the potential challenge." It was like the question about who directed
Sin City.
Yeah, Sin City. Thank you. And it was Rudy Rodriguez, and Tom was like, put down all three directors.
Yeah.
And Jader had the one director.
Right.
And he didn't catch it. And she's like, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. I should have. That's all because, and as a result, Tom missed the second one, missed the next question because he was trying to tell me to challenge, and I didn't catch it. That's completely my fault. And so you kind of really see Kate. It's her first season as well, and she's definitely growing as a manager, and she is going to get a million times better. But we see her making some of these mistakes that are totally human, normal. But you also see someone like Winston that is excelling every step of the way with Shannon Miller. Oh, perfect.
Absolutely.
Ryan says she's underappreciated, and that's interesting. That many managers have shown to own their mistakes like Kate did. That's another
true.
aspect.
That's very true.
She has said that she does that because she wants to take the heat. She wants to take everything away from her players. She doesn't want her players to take any heat, so she's happy to take it all. She's mentioned that. That is a good aspect. I think all the managers have some things going for them. Different personality types, different ways to attack things. They both have some pros and some cons. But you're right, Winston's definitely been one of the more complete managers I think we've seen all year. Shannon Barney is another one who comes to mind as someone who's been pretty complete as far as that goes. As I know, as far as definitely a mouthpiece, definitely getting in someone's head, and definitely I know the corruption studies a lot as well, so it's a good three-way for that as well. So I think Shannon Barney is definitely a contender at this point for manager of the year as well. But
yeah. I think Kate would be in the conversation more. And I mean, this is by basis of how this game runs and how people perceive managers. If Kate can come out with the winning team in the teams tournament, I think that really boosts her up. Because right now she's got solid competitors, but she's not putting herself in those big contention matches that is putting her in the forefront of the conversation. I mean, right now we're seeing Winston, Shannon constantly. Koi's coming back into that conversation as well because of the profile matches that are coming. And again, like I said, I love Kate, but I don't see her breaking into that top level of manager of the year conversation only because of how the Schmoedown views their managers of the year.
Oh, not only that, I mean, about his singles, like he's the only one. We have one person in the den left at this point. I mean, and since round one, we only had one person in the den left. Tom was the only person left.
Yeah. I also think that we have to remember is that we haven't really seen anyone truly excel, like really excel in her faction. We've seen Tom do really well so far. And maybe, like you said, if him, let's go to the final.
Goddard's still probably up for Rookie of the Year at this point, I think.
He's definitely the conversation. We haven't really heard of him in a while. He's not in the team.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's not in the team tournament, and he's not in the singles tournament. He was an ID, and he had one singles match. He's not around anymore. He
pulled himself out of the singles tournament. He kept himself out, so that's something to say. He definitely controlled the teams thing. It was a decision by Kate. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But it's Paul and Tom versus the Pride, and Paul and Tom were the ones chosen. So, but I can't say that Goddard hasn't done very well this season for her. So
he did well, but again, he's not in the forefront in this latter part of the season.
That's for recency bias.
That's a big thing, unfortunately.
I'll agree with that.
And again, we haven't really seen anyone truly excel. We've seen him win 2 matches in teams, 1 match in IG, and 1 match in singles. So that's amazing, and in so many different leagues. But we haven't really seen him do anything recent, and he's not going to have any more matches for the rest until next year. And that might not even be with Kate. So we don't even know if the team is going to survive. So
interesting to see. All right. So at the end of the day, we didn't actually talk about Bibiani versus Liz. Who do you guys have in that? If that's going to happen, I'm going to go Bibiani still. I think Liz makes another. I think Liz takes that next step and she's solid. But I don't think she's quite there with Bibbs yet. So that's where I'm going to go with Bibbs.
So before her match with Chance, I definitely had Liz in the mid to high tier in between those two. I am done underestimating Liz after her match with Chance. But that said, I still have to go Bibiani. I think he's just too good.
That's a good point. Alex?
Come back to me, dude. Come back to me.
All right. Come back. Megs, what do you think?
So I kind of going back to how Liz has been doing so far, and talking about her match against Chance. Yes, Chance had technically answered more questions than Liz, but Liz was able to capitalize on more points. And I think that is going to be a big determiner who's going to get their 5-pointer. It's gonna come down to the 5, and it could very well go into multiple rounds of sudden death with her against Bibiani.
Let's talk about that. You did say that, and you want to bring up that whole idea of PPE. So talk to us about that as far as Liz goes.
So essentially, when you're looking at those 2 numbers, accuracies is how many questions, just one for one, how many questions did you get right out of what's asked of you? Potential points earned is out of those questions you were asked, did you answer everything at the maximum value of points? What we saw with Miller versus Allison was that while Liz came out of round 1 with fewer points, she was able to hit her 5-pointer, which essentially negated the advantage that Allison came out of in round 1 because he was not able to hit his 5.
Right.
So Allison was hitting more points initially, but he didn't hit those high value questions.
Right.
That one high value question that would have set him up for the win at that point.
So 5-pointers are really the big thing as far as PPE goes. If you can get a 5-pointer, that can help negate a lot of things you didn't get earlier in the game, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yes. Depending on, and that also depends on how your round 2 pans out. But yes, if all things are even in round 2, if you miss only, say, 2 questions in round 1, but you hit your 5 and your opponent doesn't, you're still going to win the match, because even though technically your opponent hit more from an accuracy standpoint, you were able to get more points based on the value of questions that you were able to answer, which is a very, very interesting conversation. And I could write an entire paper thesis on this.
I want to see it in my deck.
That will be my doctoral dissertation.
All right, Alex, you got some time there. Have you made up your mind?
Yeah, it's... I'm scared. I think it just comes down to, I think Bibbs has it more than anything. Liz, she's obviously, if there's anyone to take her down, I feel like it's a very similar conversation to Craig. I do think it's going to come down to the wire. They both have very similar academic backgrounds and very traditional movie critics and critics kind of things. But I do think Bibbs has. I think he just has more core knowledge at the end of the day.
Fair enough.
Very well could.
All right. Let's move on to the final match of the week. It's Mark Riley versus Perry Nemerov. This to me was one I was looking very much forward to, not necessarily as a barn burner match, but to see where these players stood. Perry had her took out Mike Kalinowski, and that I feel was definitely a shock to most people. Although when you look at it, it wasn't as shocking as you might have thought. That's a narrative thing, because Mike has always been a little bit, I feel, lesser in singles than he is in teams and in IG. I think his IG and his teams run kind of make him look better than he is in singles. He had a good run in singles at one point, but he's been kind of hot and cold, like you said. Whereas Perry Nemerov, though, the North story on her was that she was on tough beats, lost a couple of hard matches, and left because she just didn't feel like she can compete as much to the level she wanted to. Something to that effect. That's what she said. But she does well in the Jurassic Park matches. But she comes back and she beats Mike Kalinowski, which kind of like sets her up that new level. I mean, automatically, I think she had the win by beating Mike. She kind of won her season. That was her that's her getting a championship, was beating Mike Kalinowski, setting her back up that she can compete in the league now as it was. And then she had to go up against Mark Riley, who has legitimately been struggling a lot recently. Yeah, of course, the boss match where he got thumped. He had the Video Drew match where he won, but even he would say was far from the prettiest match. So I don't know what that. But then this was an interesting season where he was going to be against Perry at that point. Going in, I still gave Riley the edge, and I think that's partially because of his legendary status. That's a conversation to have at some point too, as far as narrative goes. So some of these players who have been around forever. I mean, Riley was a legend because he's a two-time champ. People like almost not they don't remember, but it's been so long now since he had that title and won it during a different era of the Schmoedown. It's hard to see how much that matters compared to like today's league and his place in today's league where he did struggle as much. But given that respect, I still had Riley winning, but I thought it was going to be a close one. What did you have now?
This one was really interesting to me because Riley had so little momentum, the least momentum out of anyone in the tournament, because he was just he just squeaked the win by Video Drew, and whereas Perry, she was coming in with so much momentum. I do think that Mike is a high caliber player. I think we'll never know, but I think that if Mike didn't miss the Flash Gordon question, he would have beaten Paul Oyama for the championship with the way that Oyama played that night. So I think Mike is definitely top tier, and that was a huge win for Perry. I definitely had Riley winning because he's just been there more. He's been on top of the mountaintop. Perry to me was like this low-ranked college basketball team that just pulled a huge upset. And Mark Riley I would compare him to Louisville. He's been champion before, but he's not as dominant as he once was. But at the end of the day, Louisville is still a very respectable team. And I just had Riley winning.
All right, fair enough. What are you, Alex?
I had him being KO'd.
You had Riley being KO'd.
I had Riley being KO'd, to be honest.
Perry.
I thought Perry was going to take it 110%. I keep bringing that up. That's how confident I am. I was about Perry taking this, to be completely honest, and I am eating my words, sadly. But, it is what it is. Thing is, when it comes to Perry, I do think she had a lot of momentum going into this. I also think that she's really thrived under Koi's guidance and mentorship, and she's really kind of helped her train efficiently. But Riley, he's like been very vocal about it. He's like, I'm training, but I have a lot of other stuff going on, so it's a priority, but it's not that much of a priority. And we haven't really seen him in this past season. We haven't really seen him really succeed all that much, and this year at all. And we've seen him like beat Video Drew, awesome, cool. But I was really surprised about this one. I was just like,
all right,
that hurt.
Megs, what did you think going on?
I had Riley winning. I still I believe in him still as a competitor, that he can still be that top tier, but as opposed to some other competitors where some competitors have to really bear down and really study and hit the books in order to get back in that top tier, Riley needs to chill. Riley needs to just get back to his relaxed state of he knows what he knows, he's going to study, but he comes into the games to have fun. If he wins, great. If not, you move on. So seeing him get back into that attitude made me so much more confident he was going to be able to pull it out, because when he's just relaxed or able to lean on somebody else like Bateman, who was going to be so much more that strategic player and the really hitting the books hard that Riley could lean on, he was so much better. So Perry's been amazing. I totally believe that she won that match legitimately against KO. It wasn't a fluke. But Riley's somebody that I've followed since I started, and I wanted to see him at least get further along in this tournament to bring him back into the conversation that he deserves to be in.
I will say that it's kind of what I mean. Riley's been around for so long that he's had a lot of fan building him up. A lot of fans love him and fans want to see him win. And sometimes clouds the narrative a little bit that way in terms of how he's doing now. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I just do want to mention, I do think that, his performance was actually also in part to Perry being Perry, because they are friends. They work together. There is that. Riley's not at any point trying to pull his character. He's not trying to be a cleaner heel situation or anything along those lines. He's not trying to be this cool guy with the leather jacket and everything. He was just like there hanging out in his office, and he's just like drinking his little boba tea or whatever. and I felt like that really translated well. Like you said, when he is just chill and he's hanging out, he's great. When he's like, but when he's
he gets too wrapped up into it, he will get hung up
and everything. He it's very hot and cold, and you don't know what he's gonna get. But I think knowing that he was going against Perry, he just felt so comfortable, and he was just hanging out. And so I felt like knowing that who he was going up against, not because of a record or anything, but just because he's just there with a friend, a genuine friend. That was one of the real big reasons why he walked away with the win as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll add on to that as well. It's exactly what you said. Is when he is chill and he's not getting into his head, which is something that he tends to do. He gets into his own head. And he starts missing questions at round one. He starts fighting him off, and he kind of tends to struggle a little bit. But this match shows exactly that, because he was chill and cool as a cucumber, and he had probably his best singles match in years. Yeah, it was one of his best singles matches in a long, long time. He did beat Janine earlier in the year, and he did beat Video Drew, but this was like a different kind of thing where he kind of came out. He did a 7 out of 8 in round one. He just had the one miss. Round two, he got sports and was able to. He checked out a multiple choice twice, but he
navigated it well though.
Yeah, navigated very well.
For not necessarily his top choice, he navigated it like the veteran that he is.
Especially considering that Perry ran through Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, yes. Nothing against her game whatsoever. She just... I consider her a very solid singles competitor at this point.
Not to mention, it's the Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That's a very new slice this season. And so obviously we didn't really know. It's so much like Nora Ephron or SNL. It was for a minute. It was very... we weren't, as competitors, weren't sure how to feel about a lot of these new slices and whether or not they should choose them if they land on them, just because they don't know what to expect at all.
Right.
Honestly, Perry went with it. She knew what was happening. When she's got it, she's like, I want to do this, and she chose it, and bam, went through it like a knife through hot butter.
Also,
hot knife through butter.
Considering her job, she's even mentioned. Dwayne and I are like cool. We're like buds. I hung out with them when I went to Hawaii for like Jumanji, The Next Level, and I went to the promo for and Rampage, and so you see her in a bunch of interviews with The Rock. So it's like there's that obvious recognition there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say with that, you have to research the people you're going to interview. So it makes sense that she has done
the research already.
Intense
Almost
research.
like
Yeah,
a job.
absolutely.
But then again, that's what it is. So Perry has a great match, and Riley still beats her by being just a little more solid in round 3, and that's all it took. But it's a good sign moving forward. If Riley can keep that momentum going, I wouldn't be shocked to see him competing up against some of the big boys. I mean, I still would consider him probably going to, like, we'll talk about who's going to face. Let's do it now. Let's get that up there. Who is he facing next? Riley faces the winner of Snyder and Oyama, and I think that's puts Riley in probably the best position he could be in. If you had to pick a match, he had to pick a quadrant. I think that's the one he would probably pick. Snyder can get in his own head. Paul Oyama has been a little, I'd say, and before last match anyway, before last Paul Oyama's matches, he had been a little hot and cold. He definitely made a statement in his last match. But it's an interesting choice to make.
Yeah.
What do you think of Oyama and Snyder now? I have Oyama winning. I have Oyama winning pretty. I think Oyama took that. He's taking it seriously. He had that dominant match. I think he gets in Jeff's head and takes it. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mentioned this during the breakdown. I feel like they're just too on the opposite ends of the spectrum because Oyama is so strategic. Snyder is so knowledgeable. He's admitted that he doesn't study, but he works in the industry. He knows a lot about movies. So this one can go either way for me. I give a slight edge to Oyama just because he has a really good mind for the game. He's been a fan for so long. He was a fan before he came in, so he knows how this game works. So I give the slight edge to Oyama.
I love the idea that Oyama's going to he's got to put Inner Geekdom on the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Just to piss off Jeff Snyder or nothing else.
So, if only for the sake of just messing with Snyder's head, yes.
Right. And that's what.
Oh my God. I remember in their championship match in New York where he put like Harry Potter or Wizarding World on the wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Snap.
It happened. And it happened, and it got in his head. It got in Jeff's head. So it's a way to go. That's why I think it's going to happen something similar again. And if that happens, if IG is on the wheel and Snyder gets forced to take it or something, game over. Oyama wins.
Game over, man.
Game over, man. Game over. So, all right. Well, what do you guys think? Do you have Oyama being Snyder then at this point?
I do. And though before seeing Snyder in his first match, I would have had Oyama beating by a much bigger margin. But seeing how Snyder has taken to the tournament thus far this season, I think it's going to be closer than I was anticipating. It's gonna depend on where Snyder's head is at by the time we hit round 3,
right?
Because we've seen him kind of struggle a little bit from the mindset in that last round,
right?
So, but Oyama can be that same way too. So I just give more the strategic advantage to Oyama at this point.
Makes sense.
To put himself in a better position going into round 3.
What do you got for us, Alex? What do you have an idea on this one?
She looks like she's got an interesting thought.
I thought all my thoughts were interesting, Megs.
I'd say about 67%.
Extra interesting.
I really can't. I feel very divided because they're both wonderful competitors. I do want to give the edge over to Oyama because he is. I think being with Lon, succeeding in team have really perked him up as far as his intensity. Kind of reminded him where his killer instinct was, and I would love for him to succeed more and more in the singles tournament. I do think that we haven't really seen him succeed in singles outside of since last year. And I don't want anyone to think, oh, of course he beat Marisol because she's a rookie. Like, not to say that she's not a great competitor. Obviously she was, but I mean, like, it was her second match ever going up against a former singles champion. So it's like, we could have had another upset like Collins and Roga, but it's likeliness. That doesn't happen very often. So
hard to beat somebody when they go perfect. That's
right.
That's the thing.
That's true. Marisol wasn't perfect though. She also very clearly had a lot of gaps in her knowledge from the get-go. Adam, we haven't really seen that yet.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
Yeah, he's like Collins is like the new Oyama. Just putting that out there. But I do say Snyder, he doesn't study. He's a Kramer, and I don't think that's going to really work in this tournament anymore.
So then we got Oyama versus then Riley then at that point, and that's going to be a very interesting match as well. Is what Riley are we going to get? Are we going to get the Riley that's chill? Or are we going to get the Riley that's not so chill? Oyama is not the intimidator anymore. He's not trying to be the cocky heel anymore. He's been more of a low key kind of guy who's coming in being nice, and maybe that works actually to Riley's advantage potentially. If I had to pick one right now, I think I'd lean Oyama just because I think he's got a more solid knowledgeable base than Riley does as far as overall goes. Oyama knows things he shouldn't know. That's what Bateman has always said, and I kind of agree with that. He just knows all these things that he at 22 or whatever he is, maybe 23 now, whatever either. He just knows things he shouldn't know. So that being said, unless it goes specifically for Riley, I think we're on round 2, and I'm not even sure what that is. I'm not even sure what the weakness for Oyama would be per se. Then I think Oyama's going to take this one as well. What do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not a weak quadrant on the whole bracket, but like you said, Paul, this is the one you want to be in. I think this is where Riley has his best shot.
Right.
It really depends on which Riley shows up. If the Riley from the last match shows up, I could easily see him taking it. But I think more often than not, I think Paul Oyama pulls through.
Do you have one for this one, Alex? I know I'm putting pressure on you. You seem like you're just like very unknown right now.
It's 110% Oyama.
And you don't have a lot of respect for Riley at this point, do you?
No,
as far as game play. Not respect. Sorry, respect for
Riley, he's fantastic. It's just like he's a very at this point. It feels like he's just much more of a casual competitor compared to Oyama, which is not a bad thing. I just want to point that out there. Is just Oyama. He is just so aggressive in the way he plays. He has that killer instinct, and Riley, he's thriving in these kind of casual with the being a casual competitor, and that's awesome. And if that's going to work for you, keep it, do it. And I think that also comes down to the wheel again. He did definitely obviously beat Perry. Riley did, but let's face it, a lot had to go wrong for Perry in order for her honestly to lose as well, I think. And I do think kind of similarly, I do think that a lot of would have to go wrong for Oyama in order for Riley to win.
I would say I don't know if I agree with you about Perry. The only thing that happened for Perry, honestly, was her missing her 5. I mean, she missed her 2 her 5.
She missed her.
She didn't do great in the round 1 as well. She did fine. She got 5 points?
6. 6-pointer in there.
Yeah, it was 6.
She only missed 1 less than Riley at that point, so it's not too bad. She blew round 2 because she missed her 3 and her 5. That's tough.
3 and 5. That's what I was originally thinking. But.
Yeah, that's right. So I said but I get your point. But I think Riley, I think a lot will have to go right for Riley to win. I would agree with that. That would have to go right for Riley, and that's the case. I think Oyama, and even if things will get him a little bit, I think he has that kind of knowledge. So I'll lean Oyama. So, Megs, what do you think?
So, if I'm thinking of because I'm pulling for Riley to win, I would almost rather see him go against Snyder. But if it's going to end up being Oyama, it's going to be a rough road for him to be able to pull it out. Only because of, the same things that Alex is saying, just the way that Oyama approaches the game more favors him in this era of the Schmoedown.
I agree with that.
But I mean, I am so much, I am not 110% saying Oyama because I am such a big fan of Riley. So I can't. I think it will be very tough for him to pull it out, but I am pulling for him to be able to do it.
All right. Not a fan of the panel discounting Snyder. I don't think it's a certain
no, not at all.
Snyder, yeah, he's great. He crams.
I would love to see Riley.
If you were going to team up on a group project in high school or college or whatever it may be, or work, do you want to be with someone that consistently studies and everything that works hard throughout the entire semester, or would you rather be put with a student that crams 20 minutes before? Oh, actually, scratch that. 30 minutes before. That's what he said.
30.
He said 30 minutes, not 20 minutes. 30 minutes. That's all he does. He doesn't study. He doesn't practice and watch matches. It isn't a practice test or anything. He does if people beg, but that's it.
All right, fair enough. That's another Riley from his title match against Roka is the one that needs to show up because the motivation mixed in with the strategy he's learned from being Ben's partner.
Yeah.
I get that. But like I said, that's a different era. It's such a different game back then.
You got to bring out the Karate Kid D.
Yeah, he does bring up the Karate Kid D. We could see that, man. But if we could see Riley pull what he knows from Bateman, from Who's the Boss, that would be great. But I don't know if I've seen a lot of strategy from him even these last couple games so far. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen in that one. So
Yeah.
So let's bring up now. I'm going to bring this up real quick. Let's just make a bold prediction. Who do you have in the finals? The final two. If you got to pick right now, here you are. What are your finals and who takes it all? I'll start with you, Natty.
Oh man, putting me on a spot.
I am putting you right on the spot. I like hosting, so I don't have to say anything. I can decide who's the answer first. I can wait till the end. I like that. So go ahead, Natty.
I feel like it's a toss-up between Adam Collins and Bibiani for the left side of the bracket. I am going to go Bibiani versus Tom.
Bibiani versus Tom. Okay. And who do you got winning that one? Do you have a choice on who you're doing that one? Do you want to wait? Do you want to go back around?
I'm going to go Bibiani just because I'm biased because he's on my fantasy team.
Fair enough. Alex, who do you have in the finals?
I'm like mapping out my stuff right here. I was actually narrowing it down and kind of going over stuff, and I honestly think the final two is going to come down to Bibbs and Ethan Irwin. Those are the final two that I think it's going to be in the finals, and I do think the winner will be Bibbs.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like it's a year of Bibbs. I feel like it's Bibbs' year. I feel like he's succeeded in both singles, teams. So who knows?
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. What do you guys say, Megs?
So, as much as I hate to say it, I'm going to have Ethan coming out of that right side of the bracket.
Okay.
And on the left side, I'm feeling the kid. I'm feeling Meyer.
Kid.
Actually,
all right.
actually. We'll see how that goes. But like just my gut feeling at this point, looking at who's over there, I'm going to say that. And then as far as between the two of them, my head says Irwin, but my heart says Meyer.
You think the kid can beat his partner?
And hey, I said it with my heart. Yeah, he's already beat him once.
Yeah, he did.
And single?
He beat him once in the
Yeah, triple.
Yes.
No, wait.
He lost
sorry.
it.
Oh, sorry. Someone's breaking out. I can't hear what
You
you're saying.
lost the triple threat match. Bibiani. It was Bibiani, Meyer, and Merle, and Bibiani was out before the end. So Merle beat him. It was so Bibiani got KO. I think if it had been between Bibiani and Meyer at that point, it would have been Meyer.
Are we counting that, guys?
I'm counting it.
They counted the win all the time.
Paul counts his win over you and Dylan.
Okay.
I count that.
Absolutely, I caught my win over you and Dylan.
They were pretty much neck and neck up until that final round anyway.
It was like 28, 29 points. I remember. It was amazing.
It was a great match. It was one of my
I
favorite
cried
matches.
with my dad.
Yeah, it was a great match.
When it comes to Schmoedown.
I love that pick, though. I love that pick. I think Meyer had a lot to prove, and I think he could pull it off against Bibiani.
They very much could.
But we're gonna go from here. I got some shocking news for you guys, and people in the chat might not believe it, and some people who watch this later might not believe it. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I agree with Alex.
No,
I
this year is not bad enough. You're going to bring this upon us,
Guys, I'm sorry. Guys, Paul has been taken over by a bot because this clearly doesn't happen. Because we know it's a bot now because they agreed with me for the second time in like a week.
I know what is going on.
What is the world coming to? Who are you?
What is happening here? But I gotta say, I agree. Like, it was even weirder. I'm gonna say, like, you said the words, "This is Bibiani's year," that's exactly what I was gonna say. This feels like destiny. It feels like Bibiani has been moving towards this since he lost in Spectacular, and then slowly moving towards. And I think this is the year of Bibbs. He's standing tall at the end, Pun definitely intended.
Literally standing.
I don't think he's seen a sheer chair in 3 years. I do think
He's never going to sit down during a match ever again.
ever again. Ever. Why would he?
Now I will say,
live.
if he is holding his cats, I might give him the edge just because his cats are amazing.
No, oh my gosh! If we could get some cat cameos, it'd be magical. Thing is, that couldn't happen because he couldn't hold his cats unless they were like on his shoulders.
I'll say around one
balancing them.
Yeah.
Little kittens where they can hang out in his like a little jacket, like your pocket. They're like actual cats. They're like
true story. I had a kitten.
Like this little asshole.
Oh gosh, I had a cat that would sit in my hoodie hoods while I was studying, and like he'd have his shoulder or his paws on my shoulder and looking over my shoulder while he's sitting in my hoodie. So much fun.
I have the cat right here. It's like sleeping in a new chair. We have a black chair. It's an old office chair. It's now orange though because it's his chair and like all his fur is all over it.
Totally get it. Ours is brown because we have a tabby who is sleeping over here next to me too.
But going back to me, I agree that it's got to be Bibbs on that side, and I think Irwin is so powerful that I can't see him losing to anybody. He could lose the top, but he could lose it. But like I just see him doing. I mean, he had that match against Dan, which is so good. But I have Bibbs versus Irwin, and I think Bibbs takes it. I do. I don't know what's going on right now. I really
Jake,
don't.
I don't either.
I wish I had an explanation. 2020 is the only excuse. 2020 is the only excuse that I could say. It's finally gotten to us. I'm agreeing with Alex. I'm agreeing with Blaine. And Harris called me. Wow. I hate to say it, but it is true. Alex, you and I are forming a bond. Maybe is this a new leaf we're turning over? Are we teaming up now? Is this a heel turn or a face turn for one of us? I don't know. That's true. We're not going to.
There it is. Let's not even. No comment there.
I need someone to explain to me what a heel is. But also, why the heck would I come up with this ass hat? I mean, come on, guys. This ass hat. I don't know. He's like married to Ed Harris, or he's trying to get married to Ed Harris, and I don't even know who this guy is.
I need to sleep tonight, so please don't bring that picture up.
That no one knows about. It's just so weird. But clearly, the world is coming to an end because we actually agreed like twice in a week.
I know. I can't wait to see this actually continue. If this continues, we might have to seek some kind of help because I don't know. I don't think it can survive. I don't see who can survive with us.
You do need to seek some help, Paul.
So yeah, definitely. I think you do definitely as well. So all right. That being said, after that hot take that we have,
that was something.
Something happened.
Let's. All right, fine.
Come on, Ferris, don't do this to me.
Get ready for Nightmare. Dan Merle's Nightmare Fuel. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. What a gorgeous hunk of man.
Why?
Are those like red sunglasses?
I don't know.
No, they might have a red tinge to them, but I don't think so. I don't think they're actually red.
Only Louise wears red sunglasses.
I love red sunglasses. I did.
Yeah,
love
I said what I said, Paul.
I did love them.
Yeah, I say exactly what I said. Okay.
Danny should just run a bounce that point, maybe. Anyway, let's move on from that. And let's get into the idea I wanted to talk about. Maybe I don't know how long the conversation will be, but Bateman and the end of Backstage. Bateman got. It's kind of strange. This show has always been kind of an interesting show, done really well, but it's always kind of floated between. It's called Backstage, but yet there's definitely some kayfabe aspects to it as well. There's definitely some storyline aspects that get pushed at times. So you never really know. Sometimes you don't know what's real and what's not, and maybe that's what they're going for. But
it's shifted over time too.
Over time, that's true. Thanks, Andreiko. That's not true, but I love what you're saying there.
No. You will never do that.
But Bateman signs off Roka's final episode, and Bateman really hardcore, basically dissed him, Stone Cold dissed him. Said he turned to this whole, took that step back towards heeldom, which I'm happy for. I love the fact. I want to see heel Bateman.
You guys would love it. So
I mean,
Bateman was always heel. I don't buy any of this tweener bullshit. He's always
He tried though to be a face. That's
made an effort.
we all know why Nat's hair is so big, right? It's so full of Schmoedown secrets.
Is that what it is? He's Schmoedown? Are you
So full of-
Schmoedown now?
No, it's not Schmoedown. He has it so full of Schmoedown secrets.
Schmo booty. Ferris, I'm gonna have somebody time you out real quick. We're gonna be timed out. Time him out.
Oh,
Oh, that's an interesting pick. I do love me some Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he's been timed out. I just abuse my power, and I love it. But the great thing about Bateman heel aspect, first of all, not only does it take a step back in that general direction of everything we want to see on this podcast, which is the reuniting of team action, which would make us all very, very happy. But I think it's interesting to more note the backstage aspect of it. You got Bateman coming as heel, and he's been teaming up with Rachel Cushing as a face, because I don't think I could ever see Rachel being a heel. So it's going to make for an interesting dynamic. Are you guys looking forward to this with backstage with these two together? What do you think?
I feel like I'm definitely going to be making an active effort to watch more personally, just because I do love Rachel Cushing. I think she's an amazing personality. We rarely get to see her on SCN all that much. And, you know, the Schmoedown backstage, I would like watching it, but it was just so Finstock Exchange focused and purposefully so, and I get why. And obviously Roka and Ben are both really great TV show hosts, or really great personalities and interviewers. But at the end of the day, I would love the focus shift to someone also that doesn't have a bias going into it. Someone like Rachel, we could say, oh, she's biased, you know, for the usual suspects, but technically she's not affiliated, and so we can't really make that assessment already. We can't make that judgment going in.
It's funny you say that. I mean, she's technically not, but I mean, she was on the Action Guys. She kind of fully admitted it, because I know that somebody, I forget what was said. She said, because someone actually mentioned it on screen, that Rachel was the one helping him from Usual Suspects. It's almost like partially canon now in a way. Like she kind of made reference on the Action Guys, saying it was kind of canon now because it was mentioned. So I don't know.
It's like she more. I think it was when she made herself available to anyone, but inevitably she was mostly helping Usual Suspects competitors because they're in her fiance's sphere.
Right.
So I think just by proximity, she's going to be helping Usual Suspects more because they feel more accessible.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me.
And not necessarily of any fault of her own. It's just how it's worked out.
Well, fair enough.
She's also kind of mentioned that, she loves helping out with competitors when she can, but realistically she works full time. She has a very active schedule, being a TV editor and everything. So she doesn't have the time to really actively put in the time or effort to be a real, like a regular scheduled advisor, like someone like Grace could, or Jade could, hypothetically. But also she's mentioned that, she is helping, when she can, but it's kind of like being the cool auntie or the cool uncle. You stuff the kids with sugar, like when you're babysitting them, but at the end you always give them back.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Anything you want to add to that conversation?
So I don't really follow backstage as much as I should. I really want to, but you're saying there's a possibility that Rachel's going to come back and team up with Ben. Is that what you're saying?
No, Ben and Rachel are going to be on the backstage together now. They're hosting backstage.
Oh, right. I've seen people talk about how the lines are blurred between, is this kayfabe, is this a work or a shoot? Is he actually mad about all this? This is where the Schmoedown is at its best, I think. As a wrestling fan, I love it when the lines are blurred, where you can't tell what's real and what's fake. If you've been following wrestling lately, Adam Cole told Pat McAfee to go fuck himself, and you don't curse on WWE. So that got a lot of attention. Is this real? Is it scripted? So I love it when the lines are blurred. That, to me, is when storylines are most interesting.
Fair enough. All right. Real quick, you get a super chat from Mukbang Reviews. Thank you, Mukbang. I love Alex. And when you talk Schmoedown, would you ever play or manage? I thought what Gucci did was reprehensible. Would you ever play or manage in Schmoedown, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that'd be the dream. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Realistically, I also don't think I'm really good enough to play. To be completely honest, I think it's fun. but I don't do well under pressure. To be completely honest, it's just no, I don't. I'm kind of like Riley, where it's like I do well when there's nothing going on, when there's no stakes. If there are stakes, I do horrible.
Okay. But manage though. Manage.
That would be fun. I'm always down for managing. I manage a handful of people in the fan leagues, and I'm so proud. I'm so excited. I have several. One of my competitors, he's a defending champion in a league, and he's so amazing. I'm so proud of him. But we just scheduled another defending title match here in late October, so it's going to be fun to see.
Sweet.
And a few other things. Oh, so proud of him.
Well, there we go. We do have a Streamlabs, I believe, Alex.
Yeah, I was definitely about to mention that.
Okay, because Ferris just told me about it. He wants to I think probably insult me pretty much, and that's okay. Go ahead. You did pay for it, so you can go ahead and read his out, and we'll see what he has to say.
Yeah, Ferris says donates very. He donates very generously, saying, "Paul, that's some bullshit. You just pull, motherfucker. You hack." I'm sorry. I'm very articulate when it comes to. That's bullshit. You just pull, motherfucker. You hack. There you go.
Oh, I love you, Ferris. It's all good. It's all good.
It's all like motherfucker.
That's like John Travolta and taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. Get the fucking door. Yeah. So okay. All right. Beyond backstage, it has to do with what we were talking about earlier, Alex, with the whole idea of FinStock Exchange. I don't know who's going to be on this team next year in a way, because we have a lot of different potentials. Obviously, John Roca is not thrilled to always be working under Gucci. We have Ben Bateman, who now apparently will not work for Gucci again. He kind of made that pretty clear, unless things change the next couple months. Interestingly enough, Ben even threw Riley under the bus a little bit after the match. And he really did not throw the Barbarian under the bus. He actually almost made it seem like
he brought him over with him.
Right. So if Ben's not going to make it on the FinStock Exchange, you were predicting that Barbarian would be kept. Maybe he's not kept either, because maybe Barbarian and Ben are going to strike out on their own. I mean, I don't know who's going to be left at the end of the season.
I've heard that Dan might not want to play under Gucci at all.
Well, I think Dan's going to go where Roca goes. That's my thought. That's
exactly.
And Roca doesn't want to.
And he would be, if he is a defending champ, if he is still the champion, he would still hypothetically have to be with Gucci, unless Merle, he's like, you know what, I'm just not going to play until I'm traded.
Well, that's something you can do.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that works out with the manager can keep 3 competitors, but then the way that it's fanning out, it gives a lot more power to competitors to say, I don't want to play for you. I want to enter in the draft and be drafted by somebody else.
Right.
And allows them to be courted by other managers.
Let me ask a question, and I don't know if this is I know they're definitely having
on a team.
On what?
Could you imagine a bloodbath for managers trying to get Merle on their faction?
Goodness gracious.
The question I have, and I don't know if this has been announced yet. We haven't actually officially announced a lot about the draft. They said 3 players being kept. Now, you don't have to keep 3 players, correct? You can just choose to keep 3
hypothetically. Yeah.
And
hypothetically, yes.
Let's say you take 3 players, and let's say Team B, for whatever reason, Shannon, not going to happen. But say Shannon just decides, I'm just going to keep corruption, and that's it. Whoa. Does Shannon get I know. This is it's just a hypothetical for this question.
Right.
Where she only keeps 2 players, whereas Gucci keeps 3. When you go to the draft now, does she have an extra pick, like a round pick? Does she have 2, almost like a first round pick and then a second round pick at that point? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I feel like it wouldn't be an extra round 1. I think it would just turn into a kind of like how we did it last year. You have 6 televised picks, and then everything else is done after the fact via internet correspondence, and you would just have an extra spot that you could fill
at the end, though, because then there'd be no reason not to sign.
I would say at the end.
Because I wonder if you say you want to risk that, I want a round 1 pick from whoever's left in the draft. Because obviously with keepers, and it's 3 signings, keepers, whatever it is, it's 3. At the end of the day, you have 3 people on your roster. You have
already
on your roster
established
before you have the draft. let's face it, a lot of the good players are going to be gone at that point, so you wouldn't want an extra.
I am kind of curious. I feel like this should be its own special for C2A, but because of the amount of upsets we've had this season and the amount of like really great first round matches, I really wouldn't be surprised if we ended up getting competitors that are usually not in the conversation for like third, fourth round. Suddenly they are in that conversation for these teams, like someone like Gucci or Corruption that might still have that aren't going to be, drafting until later on.
Right.
But people like Perry Nemerov, for example, David Del Rio.
Oh yeah.
To me, David Del Rio better be in the top. So flippin' underrated.
Here's Stanford David Del Rio.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't get to that level of frustration, but I get it. I understand.
He did so great.
He's good. He's solid.
I'm a Megs. I'm solid. I'm a believer enough, but not quite as
Passionate.
about it.
Potential to be great. I legit feel he does have championship potential. And not to mention he almost knocked out Chance as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think he has that potential with the right manager, like Swag.
So what, just throwing it out there now, David Del Rio or Barbarian, you have a choice for one of them. Who would you keep?
I mean Craig, honestly, just because we know Craig is also a trainer.
I would say his versatility is so much more.
Yeah, and he works in IG. David Del Rio is more like singles and teams.
Right.
I think Barbarian is invaluable.
Yes, Tachyon, just to say, I definitely get that. My question just is like if they decide to like go in with people only. I just I definitely want to.
Yeah, that's a really great conversation. I am hoping that I'm sorry, I am kind of curious when that will be announced so managers can start strategizing appropriately.
I wonder if they know. They know and they haven't announced it yet. It's potential.
Yeah. I mean, we just they probably won't announce that until like November when managers really start prepping
about it. Right. I bet you wouldn't be announced. It might not even be announced until Spectacular's over. In a way, they could announce it at Spectacular.
Yeah, but managers are probably going to know already by the time it's announced.
100%.
And kind of to the point, Alex, what you were talking about, like people being more highly touted in the draft as they were before. Managers weren't thinking about a draft last season. I think that could have been part of how certain players kind of got fallen down. But now everybody's keeping that in the front of their head. So I think very likely you will see a lot more competitors that weren't initially thought of last year get catapulted because managers are starting to run those scenarios in their heads a lot more readily, just based on proximity of this being the second year.
Absolutely. It's I just think that in particular, so many rookies, in particular Marisol, Adam, for example, as well, have really shown up this season and really have done a lot of damage. And
a great rookie crop this year. Absolutely.
Wait, is Ace technically a rookie?
No, he's not.
No? Oh,
he had one match. He had one match. Christian came out and said he's not a rookie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't remember. I can't think of any matches in IG or anything.
He had a team match 2 or 3 years ago.
Singles, right? He was in teams, right?
It was a team match from 2 or 3 years ago.
But
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, I mean the point is, I mean, that we're getting a lot of upsets, a lot of competitors that we're not as familiar with that are really doing a lot of great work this season. So, we can talk about how amazing a lot of the veterans, the Bibs, their Ethans, and the Rokas and everything, how great they are and how quickly they're going to get shoveled up really quick. But I am really kind of curious to see how these newer competitors that really showed up to play, they're going to be drafted. How quickly they are.
What will be interesting, and this is, I don't know, for fantasy football players or people who like fantasy football, there's a thing that you have in what's called a keeper league, similar system. You have these players and you can keep so many. There is a system that sometimes is put into place where you have say you had 16 rounds of drafting or whatever, and you have 3 keepers on your league for next year. There's some team or some leagues that'll give you say you picked player A in round 2, player B in round 3, and player C in round 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that, really late in the round. But player C did really well as a rookie of the year. And if you kept those players, you kept that was your draft slot. You kept them in. So, like for example, if you kept player A, B, and C, you would lose your second round pick, your third round pick, and your 10th round pick, which causes like a lot of great draft strategy as far as if those rookies like Ace with a 10th round pick. If he keeps Ace, he just loses his 10th round pick and gets his first whatever how many rounds he gets.
Right.
That makes sense. That could be an amazing thing to Schmoedown in a way.
That's really interesting.
I've never done a keeper league, so I don't know how that works, but like that's really interesting because you have to like consider so many different scenarios.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I love that aspect of it. I mean, that pushes the manager to take those late round picks seriously. If you can pull a player like an Ace who does so well in the 10th round and keep him, that's a great spot for that. Because you only lose your 10th round instead of your first or second round kind of pick.
I could see that being a couple years down the line. We're still so new to a draft in this. It would be, but that's definitely a very interesting approach to it. It would definitely add a very interesting dynamic to the whole draft process. Absolutely.
I think it'd be cool. I like that idea. Another super chat, Mukbang Reviews back again. Here's some more money because I think Alex is amazing. Love you with the Outlaw in the mornings. And any of you watching now? I'm watching The Boys. Alex, definitely your stat. I don't want to say what you're watching.
I watched the most recent episode of The Boys earlier today, and it was an intense one. I just finished binging Mindhunter. Luke's and I had a little date night last night, and we just talked for like a good 45 minutes about it. It was I was like, yeah, we're talking about dead bodies. And so hot. Right? But I didn't watch it up until now just because it was one of those most hyped shows on TV for the longest time, and I just kind of forgot about it. But I just happened upon it now, and I couldn't stop. I just couldn't. And it's just great. It's like it's really good. And I expected it to go in one direction and it didn't. And it's like really great. It's just wonderful. Go watch it, man.
For season 3 sometime eventually. I know that Fincher took a little time off from it, but hopefully he comes back strong.
I hope he comes back.
Natty, what about you? Natty, what are you watching?
Well, I haven't been watching a whole lot of TV. I've been trying to catch up with the Arrowverse, which has been a slog. But I want to watch The Boys soon because I've been reading the comics. I'm trying to read all the comics before I watch the show. In terms of movies, I just finished watching all the Studio Ghibli movies. And that was such a journey. There's 21 movies. They're all really good. And right now I'm making my way through all the Batman movies. So
very cool.
Every Batman that's ever been in theaters?
Yeah, every theatrically released Batman movie. So a couple weeks ago, I watched 66. It's really good. I didn't think I'd like it, but I really do like it. I watched 89 last week, and just today, just before we came on the show, I watched Batman Returns, which, what the hell was that movie, man? It was weird.
That's a lot of people, that's their favorite Batman movie. That's surprising.
I mean, I get it. I didn't dislike it, but that was ridiculous, man.
I like it.
It's definitely a Burton movie. It's a Burton Batman.
Yeah.
What do you got to say, Megs? Have you been watching anything?
So recently I watched The Mandalorian, rewatched Rebels, and I'm going to start watching Cobra Kai here hopefully soon.
Oh, very nice. That's another good one. Love that one.
Yes, I've been wanting to watch that one for a while, so
very good. I can't wait for season 3.
Can we just talk Cobra Kai on Twitch sometime soon?
Definitely will.
Give me a chance to watch it, and then yes, I will go full bore on that. Absolutely.
Nice. Myself, I just finished a binge of Umbrella Academy because my son was watching it, and I loved it. We got through season 2 a little bit later than everybody else, but I loved it. I am watching The Boys with Kim, where I think we're a few episodes behind. I got 2 or 3 to catch up on. Movies-wise, I've been going through my James Bond watch through. I just finished the Timothy Dalton ones, which I'm glad. I like that Timothy Dalton ones were underrated. I still think
he is. He's very underrated.
And I'm also finishing up my Spike. Well, I've got 9 films left. My Spikeries, as I call them, the Spike Lee watch through. I just watched Inside Man for the first time. I loved Inside Man quite a bit. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. So there we go.
Have you discovered a favorite Spike Lee movie?
Right now, because I always rank them all on Letterboxd, I'm doing it right now without having watched the ones between Inside Man and Black Klansman as much. I always watch them and rewatch them before I rank them. Right now, Malcolm X is on top. I think that's almost near perfect movie. Do the Right Thing is pretty much right after. Inside Man was a very almost his first attempt to a I guess I say non-Spike Lee movie, just a much more of a more straightforward like heist movie, like thriller kind of thing, rather than a social movie, which most of his movies involve social issues and everything else. This is more of a straightforward like actiony thriller kind of thing. He did it really well. A couple of times there's definitely some Spike Lee isms in it. Like this tracking shot where Denzel Washington, like after an idea, like there's this tracking shot where he comes in and like all people are moving fast behind him. You're concentrating on Denzel's face as he goes to the door. And then there was some social issues mentioned here and there that definitely brought to mind some of Spike Lee's definitely career choices with that. But yeah, it's great. It's a great film though. I like it. It's probably in my top 10, top 7. Might have cracked the top 5 of my Spike Lee movies. I have to take a look back and see. But that's where I am with that. We are off topic now. Thank you, Mukbang. We love that though. One more Mukbang reviews. Another one. Thank you for being so generous tonight. We appreciate that. Sorry if you already answered this, but who is manager of the year? We definitely touched base on it. I think Alex, you said Winston. Danny, do you have a definitive decision on that at this point?
So my pick right now is Winston, but I have a question for all of you. Do you think the manager of the year is going to be the same manager that has the winning faction? Because I feel like 2 of them are going to be the same.
We have to remember that people vote on these. It's a popularity contest at the very end of the day. Hypothetically, Ken Knapsack has to be manager of the year. You know, he's definitely doing the best he can with what he was given, considering he joined like 6 months in. I feel like he's great considering what he's done. Yeah. But we have to be realistic when I say that that I don't think all competitors are really considering everything when it comes to they're picking who they think is their favorite, not necessarily who they think is the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Realistically.
That's fine. Megs, do you have a declaration on who you think it's going to be at this point?
Not a definitive one. I think a lot of it is going to come down to how things shake out at Spectacular.
Okay. Fair enough.
That tends to, in recent years, that's been a big deciding factor. Especially like because last year Kaiser was really big in the running leading up into Spectacular, and then with how things shook out with Bateman and Founding Fathers, that skyrocketed Gucci back up into the conversation. So I think Spectacular and where the belts end up end of the year really has a marker on it. It's going to be interesting to see how though faction points and which is the winning faction will tie into that. Right. But I definitely can see Shannon, Winston are kind of my 2 front runners right now. But that's again, it's because they're the ones that we're seeing going at it back and forth the most. Adam Kaiser, very good.
He is
undefeated.
I would say right now, if the vote were to happen right now, it'd be Winston. Shannon a close second. I think at this point, Gucci. I never count Gucci out. I mean, at the end of the spectacular, you could see the Founding Fathers as champions again. You could see Dan Merrill still having the singles belt.
But even then, I would say even then, with everything that's going on storyline wise, if how things shake out with Bateman and Barbarian, if his faction just completely implodes by the end of the year, there's no way.
I also have to remember is that if anything, I feel like his faction hasn't really improved since he started managing the faction as a whole overall. I do think Founding Fathers, they lost the belt. Dan Merle, he's always going to be Dan Merle, no matter where he goes. He's not going to be holding the belt because of Finstock. Now,
I'll mention Jack real quick. I don't know if you would hold it against him though per se. Sure,
but the thing is, when I try to keep in mind like a manager, what makes a great manager is how competitors have improved. How is the faction as a whole improved? And overall, I don't feel like they've improved that much. If anything, they've what?
I would say Demolant is the only big exception.
And Barbarian has played well as well. That's another two that have definitely played well. But you got to say, when you have four players,
Could Barbarian have done the same thing under someone else, though?
Ace won that tournament. Demolanta, sure, he was in the finals, but he didn't win. We're not going to talk about him until next year.
Possibly right, but I don't know how you can knock against Gucci when you have four players like you said, Dan, Roca, Riley, and Ben. We're going to do what they're going to do with or without Gucci, and you can say it's a mark against Gucci, but you can also have some mark like you can't really put that against Gucci either.
Sure, but if we're going to compare, the thing is, we know for a fact everyone in Winston's faction has vastly improved under his guidance, and same for Koi. If anything, they've done nothing but drastically improved. Shazam, Brendan Meyer, Bibbs has been on a winning streak. Perry Nemerov has done amazing under Koi's guidance, and so if anything, the faction has dramatically improved. Finstock, by comparison, he has 2 competitors that have done well. That doesn't compare to 5 competitors that have done well.
But at the end of the day, it's about winning belts and winning faction points. At the end of the day, Tom Degino has the singles champion and the team's champion. How can you argue against it? He did his job. Whether or not, what do you say he improved, who disapproved, whatever. At the end of the day, he's the manager of the winning faction. Or the winning
manager of the year, though.
How can you say he's not? He did the job. He did his job. His job is to win. Doesn't matter how.
The conversation is about who's the manager of the year. Is who's the best manager. It's not the
best manager wins
so much more than belts.
That means
that means so much more than belts, though.
That's the goal. The goal is not to improve. The goal is to win belts.
Hypothetically, if a manager, let's say hypothetically, corruption, somehow she has competitors that win the tournament or almost like dominate every single tournament, but don't technically win a single belt, but they dominate consistently throughout the year. They have more points than anyone. What if they do have more points than the faction that does have the belt? Do you think that they should or should not have the title?
She should be in discussion. She should be in discussion for manager of the year. I think she's definitely in discussion for it because she did improve and she did win. But at the end of the day, she failed. You can say she improved all she won. If you're in second place,
he failed all of his other competitors outside of Marvel.
You're in second place. You're a first loser.
Okay,
I was going to say all is right in the world because you two are going at it.
But it comes down to it's like how many matches have you won overall, and like you are the manager to the entire faction. You are not the manager to one competitor.
I don't care if I'm 0-63. If I'm holding the belt, if I'm 1-63. If that one win is the belt win, then I've done my job because I've won the belt.
That sounds awful.
Paul, I love you, man, but I gotta side with Alex here.
You can side out. That's right.
No, Nat.
I mean, in a way, I
will say why. Because
go ahead. I will.
If an NFL team wins the Super Bowl, the coach doesn't automatically become the best man, the best coach in the entire league. Like sometimes you just inherit a good team, which is what Finstock did. So I feel like
not that against him though either. You can't hold it against him.
It's definitely not his fault, but other managers have done more with what they were given.
Yeah, and you're right. And my argument was precipitous on them winning the belts back in the year.
Okay, well, technically, I do want to point out though, Paul, the goal is not to win the belt. The goal of the season is to have the most points compared to any other factions.
And that's actually what I was going to interrupt Matt.
The belts and still have a losing faction.
I was going to interrupt that. That's actually what I was going to say. I understand that is that thing. But here's the problem with that aspect of it. You start arguing that aspect of it, and that's about. Well, of course, the other teams are going to win more points that way because they have more matches in terms of they have more tournaments. Because you have champions that can't be in tournaments. Yeah. 10 can't be the champion. 10 can't be in the tournament now.
You should really focus You should focus on your other competitors to kick Tookus. But if you also lose with those as well.
And I think Barbarian did a great job in the tournament. I think Barbarian did a great job with what he did. I think that the only person who could say failed him or whatever, or he failed with was Emily Rose Jacobson. I mean, Sabrina. She's a rookie. She had one match. I can't really hold it against them, per se.
Yeah, I can hold it against them.
How can you hold it against
another rookie? No, I mean, I can. Absolutely.
I can't. Yeah. Now, if she ends up, being if she ends up losing a lot, that's something. But if she loses one match, it's one match.
That's totally fine.
Every manager had one loss on matches and stuff.
I do think he's a great manager. I just don't think he's a great manager for rookies in particular. If you want to improve overall, if you are an established competitor and you want to take it to the next level, if you want to be Ben Bateman and win that belt back or whatever it may be, Finstock is perfect for you. But however, if you are on a losing streak and you're down on your luck and you want to improve, you don't want to go with Finstock. You want to go with someone like you want to be with Corruption or Koi. That's going to be there for you emotionally as well. That's going to help you train and really kind of build yourself up. You don't want to be with someone like Finstock who doesn't have that ability to really build you from the ground up again.
And I will also say real quick, I am not arguing that Gucci should be manager of the year at this point. I'm throwing out arguments for it. There are arguments for it. I'm not saying that I'm choosing Gucci as a manager. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit and throwing out that there are, because like it seemed like you guys were dismissing him out of hand to me. I'm saying there are arguments to be made that he could have it. It's about wins. I do say it's about wins, and that's the end of the day. It's part of it. Belts, faction points, exactly. If he wins faction of the year, if his faction gets the most points, then he's got to be in the conversation at least. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, if I had to pick something, if I had to pick the manager of the year right now, I'm picking Winston at this point myself.
But
for exactly the reason you said, for a lot of the reasons you said. So actually, in a way, I'm going back to the 2020 thing. I'm agreeing with you guys agreeing with you, Alex. As a way, I just don't want to see him dismissed out of hand.
There's still a lot of season left for him to bring himself back into that conversation, which I agree with. Honey.
Oh, no, I was like, no, I'm totally agreeing with you. I'm just pointing this out. Paul and Alice disagreeing again. Oh, it's right in the world.
Mm-hmm. Gotta go on brand. You know?
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Real quick reviews, real quick. He had a super chat, but I throw those out there before it gets lost there. I'm loving all your comments today. Thanks so much for giving your insights to the Schmoedown. Thank you, Mukbang, for being here. I love Koi, but Winston seems to win. Yeah, that's true.
I feel the same way. I love Koi's my favorite manager, but Winston is just doing so well. So he has my vote.
And another one, Alex makes great points. Team Alex, thank you again. I think you would be an amazing manager. She is a pretty good manager from what I've seen.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so to me, I think it's Winston. Maybe Shannon's in the conversation. I still think Gucci is in the conversation and can be, depending on how things shake out at the end of the year. So,
you know what would be interesting to see if Roxy somehow or Kaiser really kind of pulls out and really does well in the team tournament.
I love that Kaiser. Kaiser had balls. Yeah. He had balls. He had a strategy here. Did the strategy work out? No, it didn't work out. And part of it was COVID. Part of things happens. But he went for the IG. He wanted the whole IG league, and then he took some rookies for the singles. If everything had worked out the right way, everyone would have seen him as a genius. So he took a risk, and it didn't work out. So I think he's still got a potential to be a great manager. I'd like to see him what he tries next year and see how that rolls out for him. Because a lot of people will say he's a great supporting manager. He's not he's not as much of the trivia knowledge kind of guy, but he's good, positive reinforcement. He's
very similar to Koi, where he is going to make you feel like the coolest, the smartest person ever. He's going to make you feel so confident. It's ridiculous. Like, you have no need to be that confident, but he will make you feel that confident. and that's what's going to make you, and for someone like Riley that needs that kind of casual confidence, Kaiser.
Yeah. And you know what you're talking about? You're talking about improvement. No need to look further than Eric Zipper.
Yeah.
Has improved great under Kaiser.
Yep.
That I don't know. Is Streamlabs turned off? I don't know. I don't think it is. You're getting an error.
Well, if you're getting an error.
Oh, it's the link again. Try the link directly.
We did. We did get a Streamlab from John Listerina a few minutes ago saying, donating very generously. Thank you so much, John. Too much screen time for PLD tonight. How's everyone except Paul?
Thanks, John. You always bust my balls, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I do. If you're clicking on the link, maybe the link is broken. Yeah, you know what? If the link is broken in the in the description. Sometimes when we cut and paste things, it doesn't work out well.
That was my bad. I set up this room and I must have not done it correctly.
I can actually do it real quick. I'll edit it here real quick, and I will put this in here and this. And when I'm done, Canada rocks. If you want to, you can. Oh, wait.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention, though, Canada rocks. Really appreciate it.
Here we go. We do that. I'll edit it. If you refresh the stream now, the link should probably work in from the description as well. So now it's in both places. Okay. Any more Streamlabs in there? Was that it?
I think that was it right now. Yeah.
So now it should work if you want to try one now. So yeah, that's where we are. Okay, Kaiser could be another great one too. I want to see him. Like I said, just really real quick refresh. I do think he's ballsy. He has a good thing. I want to see what he does next year, and he tries a different strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll try the same strategy again and blame this year's losses on COVID, and maybe he can do it again, right? But who knows?
And I think Roxy is kind of in the position where we know she's a great manager, but due to some stumbles she's had this year, she's not in that conversation for the majority of people. She has those fans that absolutely love her. And, I love her as a manager as well. But again, it's who's in the forefront of people's minds right now is going to be what's going to shake out by the end of the year.
I think she's a good manager. She just didn't draft extremely well in terms of things like a lot of her. I mean, she has obviously Andreiko and Snyder are top tier players, top tier team, and she was loyal to them. I get that. Alex Damon, you can't vote against him, but he can't play until Spectacular because that's just what happens. I mean, he played IG though. He did play IG and did well in IG.
He did absolutely.
But Stacey Howard didn't get a lot of chances. Vejvoda didn't work out well. JT
she couldn't capitalize on him.
But that was a Hail Mary. Vejvoda was a Hail Mary by her to get a Star Wars competitor because Damon couldn't be in the tournament. She does have Alex's favorite David Del Rio though. So
I'll say Del Rio was kind of the best newer competitor to come out of what she has right now.
One more super chat. I think we did get a Streamlabs from Canada Round, so we've done a second mukbang reviews. One more. Who's your favorite character? I love Tom and Lon. Well, I will start off and say my favorite character always, no matter what, is going to be Andrew Ghai, no matter what character he's in, because I think he's the best out performer the game has ever seen. Whether or not you can argue whether it got in his way versus Bateman, as far as I could let the character get avoid the trivia, that's fine. That's a different category. As far as character goes, Drew is the greatest of all time. He'll always be. I can't see anybody ever overtaking him. With that being said, I do love Lon a lot this year. Lon's probably my favorite character as far as getting over besides Drew. Lon's definitely her from that though. I guess you're saying Ghai as well, and I get that. You guys have anything?
Actually, I'm really not. Ghai is definitely my top 5, but he is not my number 1 anymore. To be completely honest, I say that he is our Lord and Savior, Andrew Ghai. Obviously, I said that it's just we've had so many awesome new characters. We're actually getting 2 of my top favorite on a team next season. They're part of the dungeon. Eric Zipper and Adam Witt. I had no idea I was going to love them as much as I do. And they're so funny together. And it's just like the movie guys. I had no idea I was going to love the movie guys as much as I do. And I do love them so much. But even more so, this combination that we're going to be getting for the team's tournament, I can't put into words just how much I love.
Okay. Natty Daddy?
It's Andrew Ghai, baby. You know where I stand. The call that podcast.
Oh, there you go.
If we're not counting Andrew Ghai, because that's not really fair to everyone else.
Yeah.
I would say Video Drew is really good. I really enjoy her a lot. I think no one commits to her character like Video Drew does, and she's so charismatic. She's so fun to watch. I'm always going to root for her, so she would be my second favorite.
Fair enough. Very fair. Megs?
So, to me, Ghai is the benchmark that I rate all other characters by because he was the original, really solid character. Roku was the original, but Ghai just elevated it to such a higher benchmark. But there are so many other good characters this year that it's hard to kind of, because they're all good in their own rights. They're so different from each other. There isn't like two characters that are very similar, but one edges out the other. They're all so different. And that's a great credit to how Christian has organized things and how he's pushed certain people to in certain directions to where we have such a great variety of characters. So I would say Ghai is still my top overall, but at the same time, I can also say that because of what he's done, there are other characters that have kind of wheeled their way in my heart just by the fact of them building off of that. But I can't say a definitive favorite.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. We have a kind of rocks out of Streamlabs, right?
Yeah, we did have Streamlabs. I put it in the chat. It's from a Mr. Canada Rocks. He donated generously, so thank you so much, my dude. Do you guys ever get spoilers for taped matches? If you do, how do you handle it?
Never talked about this on air. Never talked about this on air.
This is interesting.
All right.
Scenes.
I will say that. Okay, I'll come out and say this. I never actually said this on there, but I've told everybody else behind the scenes. Yeah, I have gotten some spoilers before to tape matches, but I've always decided to treat it as if when I make predictions on C2A, for example, I might have some knowledge, but I always will go with whatever I thought was going to happen. So I never betray like what I know as far as if I know a match, I'm always going to tell you what I thought was going to be the outcome before I found out the outcome. So it's a genuine prediction out of mine. It just happens to be after the fact that I already found out what happened in a way. So you'll never see me ever like just predict just, oh, I know who's going to win, so I'm going to predict that win to look smart, because I think that's unfair and not what I want to be for this podcast or any podcast. I don't want to make it like out. So I mean, I guess you could say that I'm being false about it, but I mean, but people like example, the showing up competitors have a lot of obviously pre-knowledge, and they have to prepare for it. They have to push the match and everything else. So I'm never going to give that stuff away on air, but I will. Oh, so I always basically, that's how I'm going to hold true to myself and to the fact that I'm never going to give out any spoilers I found out, because I want to ruin it for anybody. So I always go with what I thought was going to happen, and that will be my prediction. That's how I go with it.
As far as I'm concerned, no one tells me shit. I don't know anything. I am just like the rest of you. I'm not Schmoedown. I don't know anything.
Fair enough, Natty. Megs, have you ever been spoiled on things?
This year, yes. I have, just by nature of getting deeper into the space with certain people. I've gotten spoiled on a couple, but very similar to you, I try to always make sure that I am giving, again, my original thoughts prior to actually getting spoiled. Because I like to be able to give my honest opinion, and I don't care if I'm wrong, if I end up being wrong in a prediction, because it doesn't do me any good.
Okay. Alex, I know you've had some spoilers your way as well. So
all the time.
You handle it?
No, it's not all the time. I'm just kidding. I'm not that cool. I wish I were. Yeah, the occasional match is spoiled for me, just because I do work with I do work with training, and I prepare like 1,000,001 questions, obviously, and as a result I do work with a handful of competitors as far as like just training every now and again. But yeah, not that much. It's if a match. When it comes to something like this, I just try to personally not talk about it all that much. But also, rarely is something spoiled for me, honestly. Usually it's on accident when something is spoiled for me. So,
yeah, it happens. It happens. But great question. I'm glad we navigated that well, I think. So.
We wouldn't tell you if we actually knew all the answers. Just want to point that out there. So.
There you go. So, all right. Are we? Yeah, I guess that wraps it up. I think we can wrap it up now. I think we'll talk about teams next week. I keep saying that every once in a while. I keep saying we'll talk about teams next week. We'll never get around to it. But who knows? Maybe the tournament will be announced. We can talk about it when the. Thanks, Jake. Jake Akabata, your chat, to say that I don't know shit. I'm always wrong. Alex is always right. Megs is a goat, and now their father's hair even puts my beard to shame. That's true. I will say that. Daddy's hair is much better than Jake's beard ever could possibly be. Jake's beard is a mess to this point. Bob,
Jake has a great beard.
He does. He does. But nowhere near Natty's hair. So
you know what? I say just speaking of Jake, just want to say, Jake, you are amazing in every single way. C2A wouldn't be where we are without you, my dude. I just want to give you a shout out because you're amazing. You're all down a bag of chips, and let's face it, I whenever we hang out, I do like getting free beers from you. So let's keep it.
Shit.
But legit amazing. You're pretty awesome.
We know I love him. So, all right. Wow. I don't know how that would work. But I'll take it.
That'd be pretty solid. I mean, here discussion. That's nice. Yeah. Ooh. Oh my gosh.
That hurts, Malcolm. That hurts. That one hurts right to my heart. A dagger right to my heart. I will say, as much as I've cultivated the stash, back then I used to have a glorious beard like Jake at one point, big, solid CZ top type beard, but I had to shave it for my work, so unfortunately I can't do it anymore.
Did you like groom it, or did you just did you wear like beard oils and balms and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. The essences of oil of oregano, as they say. So good. That is my salute when I say fuck them. So everybody hates me, and it's okay. I feed on your hate. Let the hate flow through me. I am a heel, I guess. Right?
I don't even know what a heel is.
I'm not a heel. But anyway, all right. Any other questions get in now before we sign off? We'll start promoting our stuff. Megs, where can the kids find you?
You can be finding me here, Instagram and Twitter, Megs_reclaimed. You will see me posting on the MTS Facebook as well as the faction Facebook pages with all the lovely stats that I'm coming up with and other new things that we're going to be coming out with. So checking all that stuff out. These guys think I'm kind of cool, so come check me out.
I do. Natty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at NattyIce44. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv I messed that up one. Twitch.tv/Nat_Vu. You can also find the channel on Twitch, twitch.tv/Call to Action. That's called the number 2. That's 2 the number 2, not called number 2. You know what I'm saying. But
it's in the description.
Yeah, if you want to know why I hate Dylan Camacho, then tune in on Twitch.
There you go. Thanks, Weston. I appreciate it. Alex, where can the folks find you?
You can find me here next Wednesday on The Last General Standing. Just want to say it is a movie trivia battle royale. A whole bunch of people from C2A, as well as a lot of people within the Action Army Generals, group. We are going to be doing this kind of free-for-all style, trivia battle royale next Friday. I am writing all the questions. I'm trying not to make them terrifying. So it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be over a whole bunch of genres ranging from costume dramas to sports movies to 80s to comedies to Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has his own slice. Same as Will Smith has his own slice. So definitely, if that's something you're interested in participating in, please let us know. And so you can sign up and be a patron of the Action Army, the Generals, and Action Industries, the Generals. And then you can 100% participate next Friday because it's going to be so much fun. So much fun. Oh, yeah. Please.
Yeah, it would be fun, Robert. I believe Jake actually participated in that. I was going to try to push you into that. Hopefully you can be there. I will say here that I throw my hat into the ring. I had been hemming and hawing, but I'm going to make my appearance, and I'll probably lose in the first or second round, possibly. I'll lose, but I will be here. I don't even know when the number's going to be picked, but I will make an appearance. Do my damnedest. Unfortunately, it's not all Star Wars questions or Ed Harris questions, and so I'm screwed. But otherwise, it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it myself.
I'll be hanging out in the back doing stats, so that's my arena. It is important.
And you can find me at Plunge News on Twitter. You can find me on Action Industries, producing Ben and Drew's shows on the weekends, as well as Class Action. I do a show every Saturday with Richard Eric Jarvie, fellow C2A host. Today we did Palm Springs versus Groundhog Day, which was a lot of fun. And then I'll say last thing we do every week on Sunday, my favorite work wife, Danny Joy, we co-host Chilled Action, and that is going to be a fun one tomorrow. Jeff Snyder. Field action. That should be a lot of fun. Wherever he goes, it's definitely a volatile situation. Maybe the least chill we ever had, possibly, knowing who this is. But
just don't mention IG.
Oh yeah,
You'll be fine.
I'm going right there. Best IG moments. And of course, also the best IG moment is his time on backstage where he trashed IG. But that'll be about it. Any questions in the Streamlabs or anything, Alex, that we had? We missed anything?
No, I think that is it.
All right. All right, then. We all love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks if you stop by just to trash me. I'll take it. I'll take it. I love it. I love it. I love the heat. And we will see you tomorrow night on Chilled Action. And until then, of course, we salute you. Bye.